going to give everybody a little bit of time to get signed on due to time differences and what have you, but in about a minute, I will start this meeting, or at least start my part of the meeting. Well, cheers for Fehrs. And I'll stop it there. So welcome and thank you for taking the time out of your morning to join us virtually for an important governance requirement for our organization. Will the staff report the voting attendance number?
Yes, Dr. Krell. As of 9:01 a.m., we have 138 voting members in attendance.
We do have a quorum. This constitutes a quorum and will be assumed to be present throughout the meeting. I now call the 2020 AAE General Assembly to order. Unless otherwise announced, all decisions will be made by majority vote. When our Constitution, bylaws, or procedures require a different vote, I will announce the vote prior to taking it. Voting may take place by one of two methods. The first is without objection. On votes where the outcome is expected to be non-controversial, I will ask, is there any objection to adopting the motion, for example? I will instruct or remind you how to make your objection. I will then pause to wait for any objections. If there are none, I will announce there being no objection, the motion is adopted. If any object, we will announce there being an objection, we will take a vote. I will remind you how to vote, and then I will announce, please vote now. I will allow that what I feel is sufficient time for your votes to be cast, and then I will instruct the staff to close the vote. In all cases, except the elections, I will announce the numerical vote and then which side prevailed, the affirmative or the negative, and then announce the disposition of the resolution. The motion is adopted or the motion is defeated. We will then proceed to the next item of business. Are there any questions about voting? If so, please enter them into the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. And I don't see anything popping up, so we now have 165 participants. Thank you for joining us today. As a result of canceling AAE 20, we needed to identify a way to move forward with required governance activities for the AAE. This virtual General Assembly meeting was scheduled by our board as a means to meet those requirements. As such, we propose that the agenda for this meeting be limited to approval of the 2019 General Assembly minutes and election of officers and directors of the AAE, trustees of the foundation, and directors of the ABE. A proposed agenda was distributed prior to this meeting and is shown on the screen in front of you. Is there any objection to adopting the agenda as proposed? If you object, please indicate your objection by typing it in objection to the Q&A feature on the bottom of your screen. There being no objections, the agenda is approved. Each of you had the opportunity to review the minutes of last year's General Assembly that were published in the communique and were also distributed with materials for this meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If so, please enter them in the Q&A function on the bottom of your screen. I will ask staff to announce if there are any objections being entered.
We do not have any objections, Dr. Krell.
Thank you. Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Election of board members. We will now vote to approve the slate of nominees for the American Board of Endodontics and elect the officers and directors of the association and trustees of the foundation as presented by the AAE nominating committee, the ABE nominating committee, and the district nominating committees for terms beginning in 2020. Dr. Rick Taylor, AAE immediate past president, will present the nominees. Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Dr. Krell. As presented by the AE nominating committee for election, AE officer nominees include President, Dr. Alan H. Gluskin. President-elect, Dr. Alan S. Law. Vice President, Dr. Stefan I. Zweig. Secretary, Dr. Craig S. Hirschberg. Treasurer, Dr. Natasha M. Flake. Immediate past president, Dr. Keith V. Krell. Foundation for Endodontics nominees for election include Trustee, Dr. Fiza Singh. New Practitioner Trustee, Dr. Johnah C. Galicia. Public Sector Representatives, Mr. John Ferone, Mr. Scott Fehrs, and Mr. Kurt von Hofwegen. As presented by the ABE nominating committee, I am pleased to present the nominees for ABE directors for approval. Dr. Anibal R. Diogenes, Dr. Melissa M. Drum, and Dr. Fabricio B. Teixeira. And as nominated by their respective district nominating committees, I present you the candidates for AAE district directors for election. District 1, Dr. Elizabeth S. Perry. District 2, Dr. Marcus D. Johnson. District 3, Dr. Theodore D. Ravenel. District 6, Dr. Scott L. Doyle. District 7, Dr. Kenneth W. Tittle. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. We will now vote to elect the slate of nominees for the officers and directors of the association and the trustees for the foundation, and approval of the directors of the Board of Endodontics, as presented by the respective nominating committees. Please cast your vote through the polling features, which will appear on your screen momentarily. You'll have 30 seconds to vote, and we will announce the results at the end of that time.
Nero, please launch poll question 7.
Trina, if you could let me know when the votes are complete. Well, the votes are complete. The slate of nominees is approved and elected. Now, because of the webinar format today, we don't have the ability to hear all participants' voices. However, for those of you just elected, we ask that you take a moment to recognize your commitment to faithfully abide by the Constitution and bylaws of the American Association of Endodontists and the bylaws of the respective organizations to which you have been elected, and to discharge your duties and responsibilities to the best of your abilities. And I'll let you think about that. It should come from the heart, believe me. You are hereby installed to your respective offices. Congratulations. And at this time, I get to give you my last message. Last April, when after successfully dealing with the root cause movie, I was hoping not to deal with any more focal infection challenges. Now that seems like the good old days. This has been anything but a traditional year and continues to be a dynamic year with changes happening daily and hourly. The unanimous Board of Directors decision to cancel AAE 20 in Nashville on March 12th came when there were just 7 cases of COVID-19 in the entire state of Tennessee. April 1st, that's when the meeting would have started, there were 2,683 cases with 24 fatalities, and today they're approaching 10,000 cases with almost 200 deaths. There's no question it was the correct decision. Despite the turmoil this created, the AAE continued to function at the highest level. The executive committee and staff quickly recognized the need to develop a website with relevant information for our members regarding practice during this COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Ken Hargraves, our President's awardee this year, was able to rapidly provide articles with guidelines for treating patients during the pandemic. As relevant articles have come in, they have all been fast-tracked to our website, aae.org/COVID, so that you can actually see the most current data and the most current information. Our communication staff and Dr. Hargraves have been tireless in their pursuit and sharing of information, links, and articles. We all owe a debt of gratitude to all of them. Our communication staff even helped launch a limited COVID-19 section of the Connection just this past Monday amidst everything else they are doing. I must acknowledge the perseverance and energy of the AAE staff that they've shown during these trying times. We owe our entire AAE staff a huge thank you for all that you've done and all that you do throughout the year, but especially within the last 2 months. I have to recognize our executive director, Ken Widelka, for everything he's done to keep us organized and functioning at the highest level and working with all of the staff. It's been truly remarkable. I want to recognize all of the executive committee for their support and input throughout this year. I've been blessed to work with Dr. Gluskin, Dr. Law, Dr. Taylor, Dr. Hirschberg, and Dr. Dietz throughout the year, and I count them as close friends and confidants. Their collective perspective has been greatly appreciated. I wish to thank the outgoing board of directors for all their wisdom and their leadership this past year. We have had to make tough decisions, but I believe they were all appropriate and necessary. One person not to be overlooked is my friend and now new director, Dr. Scott Doyle. I asked Scott 3 years ago to be my general chair for AAE 20, and he put together a tremendous program with his team, including Dr. Nikita Ruparel and Dr. Craig Knoblet. You all enjoyed Scott's organization and programming in AAE 19 Montreal, and AAE 20 Nashville was on target to be the largest meeting ever for AAE. After March 12th, we had to undo the meeting and see what could be salvaged for the future. If we were live, I'd be giving Scott a hug and have an award for him, and I'd make everybody stand up and give him a standing ovation. But maybe if you're sitting, stand up and give him an ovation anyway. So, but thank you, Scott. Finally, I must thank my love and my wife, Diane, for 49 years of support and sacrifice through my years teaching, private practice, and service to the AAE, ABE, and the foundation. To all the members on the line, treating emergency dental patients, our thoughts and prayers are with you as you deal with possible exposure to COVID-19. Your treatment of these patients prevents the ER personnel from being distracted by untreatable dental emergencies. We will continue to press for more access to PPE with governors, health officials, and suppliers. We will continue to provide the latest information regarding safety measures, financial support, legislation changes, ADA, and CDC updates. We will get through this and hopefully be appreciated by our dental peers for our contributions to their patients' oral health in these extreme times. As I started out as president, I recognize that the leadership of the AAE is a team built on the continuum from one year to another. This keeps us focused for a seamless transfer of leadership responsibilities with no loss of momentum. Goals are collectively set and passed forward and then accomplished in future administrations. As an example, one goal we were unable to begin was looking at our governance model. We will reset this for the fall, and the 79th or 80th president might initiate changes. We will navigate through these rough waters by staying focused on our long-term goals. Lastly, it's been a privilege and an honor to serve as your president. The AAE will be very good hands under the leadership of our new president, Dr. H Gluskin. Alan, I am pleased to virtually pass this to you.
And I'll take it. Thank you, Keith. The image of a hammer is not what I'm going to use. My gavels are somewhere else. But Keith, on behalf of the American Association of Endodontists, I want to sincerely thank you for your service as president this past year. Thank you for all you've done for our specialty. It's just remarkable. It is my privilege and great honor to assume the position of president of the American Association of Endodontists in the coming year. It's a privilege because I think back a little over 100 years in my own family, my grandfather, knowing the Bolshevik Revolution was coming in Russia and knowing that the Tsar was going to be knocking on his door to get him recruited into the Tsar's army to fight the Bolsheviks, my grandfather moved his family to Kiev in order to immigrate to the United States and give us, his subsequent family, the life that we live right now. How many of you in the audience listening to me now are children of immigrants that have sacrificed for you? I've often listened to the names of our resident award winners over the years, and those names reflect the changing dynamic and background of our future endodontists and our own AAE. It is an understanding that new immigrants have recognized throughout our history that a ticket to the middle class and advancement within our society often comes fastest through schooling and joining a profession, frequently within healthcare. Look at the doctors and scientists that face this menacing pandemic that we see on television every night. They are the names that we certainly recognize as universally part of our immigrant fabric in America. The future of the American Association of Endodontists is our young membership, a multitude of backgrounds and cultures with a common purpose and cause. You will be the leaders of our future, and there is no greater way to honor those who sacrificed so much for us to be here than to contribute and support our remarkable specialty. I am personally in awe of Dr. Keith Krell. Dr. Krell's history of almost 40 years of service to the AAE is remarkable. And when I was at a recent meeting assigning membership to committees in the AAE, I asked the staff, pull up Dr. Krell's record. Let me see how many committees he's been on. It took my breath away. In looking at a list of 70 or more contributions to our association on that list, including president of the American Board of Endodontics, president of our Foundation for Endodontics, and now past president of the AAE, it is a remarkable record of dedication to our association, and each one of us has benefited from Keith's devotion to our leadership. Keith, your dedication to us is at the highest bar imaginable, and it requires an equal dedication from your family and your loving and supportive wife, Diane. I congratulate you, Keith, in the career you have accomplished. I am truly in awe. Another major inspiration in my life was the man who I met early in my career when I was a general dentist practicing before I decided and wished to study endodontics as a resident at Temple University in Philadelphia. It was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, and it influenced me as much as anything in my background. Samuel Seltzer, who was my program director, was a gift from heaven. He inspired, he challenged, and held you accountable for being the best you could be. When Sam was not traveling for a lecture or a presentation, we were the most lucky residents to have been able to sit with him every morning to an unhealthy breakfast of tasty cakes and bad coffee. But the engaging in the conversations with Sam was like a miracle. Sam had a million jokes, most of which would be terribly incorrect today, but the bonding that occurred with us residents was very personal and very meaningful to me. When we were prepared to graduate after 2 or 3 years of our program, I can remember as if it was yesterday a quote from Dr. Seltzer, who told his graduating residents often, more than just my class, I'm paraphrasing, but he would say, you know, you've just completed your residency and you've learned a lot. But I must tell you, half of what you've learned is not true. The only problem is we don't know which half. That was Dr. Seltzer. When educating his students, if you asked a question, Sam Seltzer would not answer, but he would ask you another question. He was the consummate teacher. Sam, I know you're looking down on us, and I owe you a lot. And so here we are today, okay? We all have our own experiences. We all got here through the efforts and hard work and dreams of those who came before us. We have an obligation to make our specialty stand above the fray, to participate in our leadership, and to support our ideals. I promise to spend every day of this, my presidential year, to promote endodontics and to advocate for endodontists, to promote with all my energy the importance of our work in maintaining health and the value of saving your natural dentition by utilizing the skills that only a specialist can provide. I will promote our competency guidelines to every group I encounter, and I will argue to third-party payers that utilizing an endodontics makes sense to them economically, because paying for a root canal by a practitioner who does not have the skill and knowledge makes no sense economically when you must pay a second time for someone with the skill and understanding to retreat the tooth the right way. Our specialty deserves strong advocacy. We have so many valuable and important position statements on endodontic safety and the importance of saving your natural dentition in health. There are our Colleagues for Excellence series of monographs that demonstrate our willingness as a specialty to educate and share our distinction with others. And as meaningful as all other the educational materials and position statements we have, our new white papers on competence in our field and what the standard of practice should be for anyone who wishes to perform endodontics on a patient stands for. We, the specialty of endodontics, determines those standards, and our white papers are very clear regarding the standards that must be upheld in diagnosis, treatment planning, and the care and treatment of a patient. Trust me, while these white papers are intended to identify competence required in our field to protect patients, as well as inform third parties like schools and dental associations and state boards, the legal profession is just as interested in our competency papers in determining the kind of negligent care that injures. And unfortunately, patients can suffer serious injury from negligent care. So the leadership of the AAE is in your corner. And I hope you have visited our website during this pandemic to understand how the AAE is fighting for you and our patients. We are tirelessly promoting and advocating for endodontics and endodontists. We need your collaboration and we need your volunteerism. We need you to support our foundation so we can fund the research that's necessary to keep our discipline strong and up to date in order to find out which of that 50% today is wrong. We need you to become diplomates in order to show the world we belong to our own special mastery of knowledge and science. And finally, we need to support each other because we are all engaged in this together in a great undertaking during a crisis now that affects us all. So thank you for this great honor of being your president this year. And I am so appreciative and can't tell you how much of an honor it is for me personally. So thank you for your participation this morning in our meeting. We look forward to seeing each of you in person in Atlanta, God, Lord willing. And please be well, please be safe. There being no further business on the agenda, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Is this the point where we put up the logo for AAE 21?
Maybe.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. More tears for Fehrs?